This is Larry Flint. He's publisher of Hustler magazine. This is an endorsement that was in April of '84. He was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, when I was doing a medical malpractice book, and it involved the Tesla files, where you can create an illness or cure it, or program people to do whatever they're told. That's a myth that people will not go against their own conscience, or whatever you want to say. They can be made to, because it's totally taken away from them. They don't even know they're doing it. So that's a lie to help perpetrate this whole mess of mind control used to install the Illuminati, a global government, right up there in New York City, not over in London, England, or over in Australia, which is part of the British, not in New Zealand, not in Canada, right there, not in Argentina, not in Mexico, right there by Rockefeller headquarters, are right near it in New York City. That's your United Nations that came to be after they took my father down. Now, and kidnapped me. He does say here that Childers Me, that's the name I have to use, knows who was responsible for his shooting, and he mentions Larry McDonald, who was one of them that I wrote about, one of the doctors, and he was a U.S. congressman from Atlanta, and he was into almost killing me April Fool Day of '80, among some other doctors, and among supposedly my ex-husband, his new wife, who I didn't know he had married. And it gets into a list, okay? Now, people say when you refer to Larry Flint, and by the way, this doesn't look like Larry Flint, so I'll leave it. The man's guts, to put it bluntly, and yes, it upsets me. I've been through hell, and this man, you know, anyway, his guts were all over the sidewalk of Lawrenceville, Georgia, shot by a program shooter. And I've been told by an NBC reporter years ago there's no way the man could have lived. I'll leave it there. Hope I'm not giving away any trade secrets and all this. Now then, here is the woman that is so loved, the biggest thief, the biggest fake, pulled off crimes. So she represents the Illuminati that kidnapped me. How? Here's all the little so-called, they're fake royals. Here's down here people that love. You've even got Elizabeth's sister Margaret was named, how sad, she was named Margaret too. She married, well, they made him a lord or something. Excuse me, I want to get some other things up here and not give her any more time. Look at the clothing, the pretty bouquet. Well, I could go further here. I'm going to stop. You get the picture. I don't have to explain it. Here's my dad, a great man, who has been smeared. She's done nothing but promote it. Okay? Had every chance in the book. When you stand before God, honey, and you go into the Church of England and you represent, well, someone correct me, or no, maybe you shouldn't, just her role in the Church of England. God. You know, it confuses me how you think, if you believe in God and you say you do, in the Church of England, how you think you're going to get by God when you meet him one day. Now, you answer that. You're going to suddenly tell him, because I'll leave it at that. This was what I was writing about and didn't know it. Implantable biochips. I didn't know it had to do anything with the end times or the Illuminati that kidnapped me. I didn't know about my kidnapping. Timothy McVeigh was put on death row, and he was programmed. And he says here that he was programmed. They put a chip up him. The Army did. U.S. Army. He was in the Army, and they put a chip up his buttocks. Okay. And he was put on death row for that. He's innocent. That's what I'm trying to get by. Yet these people here, this is illegal George VI. Elizabeth's dad, who stole the crown, he went along with the Illuminati. My father wouldn't take orders for him, so they took him down with a character assassination. My God, this picture, put it up with all the others you've seen in magazines, videos. They've used doubles. This man doesn't even look like the other doubles, okay, that married Wallace Simpson. My father was never married to this. I'm going to bleep myself. They wouldn't let me call her the correct name, but they'll do everything to me and mine. So you get the drift. He was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, and that's my mom. I was born in 1939 when this was done here, the meeting in 1939 with Roosevelt, planning my kidnapping. Now I want to get on into this if I can right now. Don't let me just show my nose up here. Makes it look bigger, and I don't need that. My nose is quite all right, but you put it up like that, and it's, maybe it's not the most beautiful nose. But here's what I want to say. Try to laugh as I go. Believe me, it's not funny. Elizabeth's always known about me. She even, when I was born, it brought my father back because he made legal arrangements. Nobody thought he was going to have a child. He never had one, he and my mom. And he's been accused of everything, when in reality he's one of the most honest, good men ever walked the face of this friggin' earth. And how dare people to do the things to him and to continue. And maybe I never get it corrected, because you should see how they've smeared me. So only God could come back down, and I don't know. Hopefully he does. But I'll do my best right at the moment. My father was beautiful, my mom, my children, and this is not right. Now then, let's see if I can get back to this, because obviously some things have upset me more. Plus, I'm sick, but then here goes the LOA that's supposed to help you if you're elderly, and I'm sure they'd put another twist on this, as is everyone else. Finally, you find out that people are being told what to do, and they do it. And you can guess the reasons. I'll leave it there. Now, I recently obtained a photo, and I think the lady, I don't know, I haven't been unable to find, my sons are not up there. There are some doubles that pretending to be my sons. They're not. My sons would be here with me if they could. I hope they're alive and well, and I get to see them again. And anyway, let me get to this before I even get started and run out of time. I had done the book and tried to get it published and re-edited it. And by the way, the person who worked for the Georgia State Crime Lab answered an ad I had in the paper about typing my book. I was redoing it, and I was going to pay this person to correct any misspelling or edit it, okay? Now, they come to find out, she told me, and I'm saying this for a reason to show the involvement, and it may have been a good one. I assume it was. But then nothing's ever been done. I was almost killed later, and I'm going to give the following, but let me say this. She gave me her number to call if I needed to know how it was going. I called it, and the crime lab of Atlanta answered. She answered and said she was typing it as she spoke to me. I'll leave it there. Now then, April Fool Day of 80, I had gone out to Laura Childers. They lived, her and her husband, lived in Abilene. She had told me just the night before I left that for me to come on out, that I could live with her and her husband for a couple of weeks, and they'd try to help me get a job there. My point at this time was trying to get my sons out of this hell that was going on in Atlanta. My husband, or ex-husband, I thought I had a divorce from him then, but anyway, Yeah, supposedly I was divorced from him. There was a divorce set up. He set it up where I'd get half of everything. Of course, what did he have? I don't know. And a policy if he died, and he was supposed to pay alimony. Now I know I won't get this up, but maybe it's enough for today. And press has never touched any of this, other than nasty little thing that I put up that happened here in Roanoke. And the only person I did get calls, they wouldn't put them through at the rescue mission, was from Atlanta, Georgia, where I used to live, and all this happened. So if I haven't lost you totally here, uh, let me get back to Laura's. She told me to come out there. I left. I slept on the interstate, those rest areas, for one night, I know, because I didn't have money. Now, I hope I'm not covering up. I think I'm okay. I was trying to make sure I hold it up so my nose and half my face isn't in it. I got out there to Mesquite, right outside Dallas. I spent the night at the day's end, and I called Laura the next morning and said, I'm here, I'm on my way up. And she says, don't bother, you're no longer welcome. So when I got back, where I lived at Laurelwood Apartments, I'd moved from Moonraker up a couple of blocks to Laurelwood, Bentley Drive. And that's where I got the letter from the FBI. I actually got two. One was postmarked June the 23rd, which is my dad's birthday. Of course, it was postmarked in 79. Now then, fast forward to the FBI. Obviously, there was things happening to me and my children that were horrible, and I thought, well, if the FBI can't protect us, who can? So April Fool Day, I went out. No, excuse me. I think it was about the 8th of March. I can't. The 8th sticks out in my mind of 1980. Is when I started to go out to Laura's. It was about that time span. Okay, when I get back, I don't have an apartment. They have allowed, the manager has allowed my ex-husband, and I did take him up there after I had moved in and been there for a couple of months. I took him up there with me and asked her if it was okay if he stayed a few days out of the month, that things were happening to my sons, and I was afraid, and as he would be there for, well, support, I hope, moral support and protection. Well, she said that's quite all right, and on the lease, it was me, my security deposit. There was never any misunderstanding other than she made a point of saying that her uncle was the lead investigator on the Patty Hearst. Well, I didn't know kidnapping. Why mention Patty Hearst? Well, now then I know. I was turning my stuff over, information, trying to get help doing the book, and all the crimes, not in doing the book, but the crimes being committed. And John was going to the not just the FBI, but to the papers and the media. And it turns out the Atlanta Journal, where I was turning so much of this over, was run by the Patty Hearst relatives who own a lot of the media, so much of it. They're Illuminati. Okay, now, April Fool Day of 80, I'm not going to put what was done. I should have died. There's no way I should have walked away from it. I was stuffed in a car. I'm leaving out. The British nurse saved my life. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, it was all so convoluted, and it should be proven. I mean, it's easy, but getting it into court is not the easy part. So anyway, my ex-husband come back from California. I had no apartment. He had taken it. They'd let him have it, sign a new lease, all this, and then I was almost killed. And my sons don't ever think any different. They were victims just like me in this whole bloody mess. Now, April Fool Day happens, and I'm going to leave out the surrounding things there that are so hideous. And I should have died. Okay, I'm stuffed in the car Saturday before Easter, I guess was it. Yeah, Easter Sunday was on the 6th of April. Okay, Lina Dempsey. I hope that doesn't mess us up turning it. I was seeing if it was on. They stuffed me in the car, and that would have been Philip, and I loved him dearly. He was put there 4 years after I was put there in 41. I was kidnapped in 39. And he was put there. And I don't think for one moment that woman, Lina Dempsey, that murdered her twins, and I was put there and told to call her mother and use the name Peggy when Peggy was dead. They killed her about a week before I came. They fed her to the friggin' pigs, and that's the truth. And I've put this up. Carl had been killed right after birth, about a month after birth, and they were a year older than me. So they had a problem with the date of birth they gave me when I was placed there because I used it throughout school and for everything working. So I'm going to jump to this. When the state of Alabama sent me the twins, Peggy and Carl's date of birth and how that he was dead. They didn't have her dead. She was fed to the friggin' pigs. And I was put there and given her name. But the state of Alabama deliberately marked through with ink the date of birth that they were born and said there was some kind of mistake made. Yeah, maybe kidnapping me had to do with the mistake, you think? Anyway, that's against the law. Right on the birth certificate, it says that you can't change anything, alter it in any way, yet the state of Alabama altered it. And right here, when I was trying to get my driver's license renewed, they said that they carried, you had to have birth certificates. So I'm having to use these birth certificates, and I'm the Queen of England. I'm not allowed to say that, okay? So they take it back there and run it through, what did she say, ultraviolet or something. They came back up and said, yes, they could see the date of births that were covered up. And I said, well, what was the date of births? She said they couldn't tell me, but they also couldn't give me my driver's license. So I would have been better off keeping quiet, I suppose. Now I'm going to get to this. I really meant to get to this and give background. When I married John, I had been making the living for Philip because I loved him and I wouldn't change it. I loved him dearly. He was like a brother to me. I took care of him. I worked through high school. I went to work 7 days a week for about 2 years there. And I walked to work. I walked back in the snow, scared to death at 11 o'clock and 12 at night, to be met by this woman, Lina Dempsey, who's a psychopath. Murdered the twins and made my life a living hell. I don't think for one moment she's Philip's mother. He was put there, and I've put all this up in 1944, and by the way, they named him Philip, which gets into Philip Mountbatten married Elizabeth, who's a fraud and a fake monarch and all this, should be locked up. Back to this, so I worked the last 2 years, and that's the only way we lived, and I was brutalized by her. Anyway, later on, I moved to Huntsville. When I finished high school, lo and behold, she follows me. I thought I had gotten rid of her, and I had every intent of bringing Philip with me. When I married, I intended to bring Philip with me, and of course, it was stacked against me. Now, back to marrying John. When I married him, I worked for a year for Curl Wholesale, and it involved electronics and things that later I didn't really have that much knowledge, but it had to do with like ham sets with the way they did mind control back then. And now there's satellites and all this, and you really would